One thing that I can say, when you hear talks on gratitude, Thanksgiving and gratitude and so forth, like so many topics, they just seem to pale in what they could be saying. People talk about like, we need to be grateful, and there's people in the audience and they become crestfallen, kind of, okay, even for what little we have, okay, my life really stinks, but I'm grateful, and that's what they're hearing. It's though they're being shamed. God wants you to be grateful. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, God, listen, if I haven't thanked you for the 8 abusive husbands or the, this and that and the other, let me just thank you now. Child abuses, and you're not asked to thank the ego. You're not asked to thank things that are hurtful and harmful. I don't know what's wrong with spiritual teachers that they miss so many topics. Gratitude is another one that's completely messed up. You have never been encouraged by any being in heaven to be grateful for things that are not heavenly. Because if it's not God, it's not real. Why would you be told to give thanks for something that isn't real? There's reality and there's illusion. Don't give thanks for illusion. And when people are coming from their egos and they're being hurtful and selfish, that's not God. Therefore, why would I thank ego for it? I'm not going to go and thank the Nazis for what they've done to people. I'm not going to go and thank racists for doing what they do. That doesn't mean, and I'm not hating them either. What I'm saying is, the gratitude should only be either for the reality of God itself, thank that there is God despite what has happened. Thank that despite my abuses, there's God's presence. Despite my feeling alone and abandoned and rejected, there's something beyond that that's in me. I'm giving thanks for the reality of who I am. I'm not giving thanks for people that have tried to show me what I'm not. I'm not giving thanks for people who were showing me their false self in their abusive behavior. Why would I give thanks for that? And people say, well, because that's all God. No, it isn't. That's just another mistaken teaching. Well, isn't God all things? Yes. Well, then God is peace, yes, and war. No. You just said God's all things. Trick. God's all things that are real. See, and that's what the teachers do. They just come from such a 101, spirituality 101, and just because they have confidence or not, they teach. They can make a living at it, so they teach. But they're not saying anything of any value. They're just going off what makes sense to the ego self. Well, look at how 101 that is, level 101. If God's everything, then God must also be hate and racism and war. Okay. God is rape, apparently, too. No, what's wrong with you people? But I understand. The reason they don't get it, what they're saying makes sense logically. Course in Miracles tells us the ego is very logical. It's just not rational. So what they're saying is logical, but it's not true. Well, it sounds like I'm contradicting. God's everything, and yet isn't rape and hurt and starvation? No. But that contradicts. No, it doesn't, because there's a caveat to that, which is God is all things that are real. How could God be something that isn't? How could even you and I be something that isn't? If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. When you try to say, well, some things, then you're trying to justify it. And if you throw in one illusion, you got to throw them all in. God is only love. So if I'm going to talk about gratitude, I'm giving thanks only for what God is. But there's one exception, one subject matter that's an exception. That not just God, what is God is real, and I'll give thanks for that, but also the parts of me that are becoming God. Not because they're real, but they're not real yet, but they symbolize my awakening to what's real. So I'm still grateful. The bottom group, pain, ego. Top group, God. And I'm saying, this one doesn't exist, don't give thanks for it. This one does, give thanks for it. But there's one other group. The parts of me that are learning from my pains. Not the pains I'm giving thanks to, the parts of me that chose to learn, the chooser. I will not give thanks to the ego. I will give thanks to God, but also the part of me that's becoming God. The chooser. And I'm not praising it. I'm not worshiping the chooser, because that's not the full me yet. God is the full me, the real me. But in the meantime, I'm grateful that I've made better choices today. So here's my abuser. I'm not giving thanks, but what I'm going to give thanks for is what I learned from being in the life of that abuser or experiencing that abuse. I don't mean justifications when I say give thanks for what you learned. Justifications. I mean really go in and dig in and see, what can I be grateful for? And I don't mean the little that we have, like the old, saying from a proverbial parent or whatever, but you've got to be grateful for what you have. That's not accurate, and yet it is. Grateful for what is real that I have. Never, never, ever tell people, and pass the word about this. Tell spiritual teachers to stop telling people to give thanks for hurtful things, because it gives another excuse for the hurtful things to continue. Because when you say thank you, what it means is anchor it. This is my reality. So thank you, pain. That really feels great. Let me breathe that in. And thank you, abusers. And thank you. Why? Because then you take them all and you anchor them in. Don't take the beautiful plant and you plant it, you anchor it, because you want it to grow in your garden. So when you say abuse, okay, fine, I'm really grateful for my abusers. Now they're moving in. They're planted in your garden, in your mind. No. Not okay. Hey, listen, you know that abusive thing? No, done. Hey, I started dating you and you've got all kinds of restraining orders. No, I think I'm done. But I thought you liked me. I thought so too. And then I woke up. It's the crazy part of me. An unhealthy part of me was leaning towards addiction of this kind or that kind. Addictions are not just chemical and drink. Addictions are also dysfunctions. We're addicted to being dysfunctional. We're addicted to dysfunctional pain experiences. We have these addictions to having a painful life. When you might think the word addiction is too strong. You're attached to it, still too strong. You're used to it. It's all the same. Once you start becoming used to something, Jesus tells us in A Course in Miracles, or Christ consciousness teaches us, that when something's in your life, it's only there because you actually believe there's a value to it. Otherwise, you'd have said, no, Like if you find in a junk drawer at your house and you go, oh, look, 5 pieces of a shoelace. If you're the type of person to go, I think I should keep that, because there could be a day when I want to tie those pieces together and try to get the knots to stuff through a hole in my tennis shoes. It just makes total sense. Then you need a therapy beyond what we can do here on a Sunday. If you're an average and intelligent person, you're likely and you're supposed to be able to say, why does that why do I have that? And let it go. But shh, it's okay. There. Let's let go of the pieces of shoelace. But I paid 29 cents for those shoelaces 10 years ago. I mean, come on. Let it go. Come on, Junior. Trash can. People collecting things, broken paper clips. What are you going to do with that? So let the things go. And it's such a freeing experience, because when you let the things go, if you let them go begrudgingly, then you're still hurting, as though you still have those things. You're as messed up as when you had them if you let them go and regret letting them go. Some of us let go of dysfunctional relationships and sit around bemoaning it. I miss the way they used to abuse me, I miss all the condescending comments, It doesn't make sense. Just come on, let it go. Fine. And even though I'm making light of it, it's not light. It's true. We do this. People, it's, in a sense, it's called Stockholm Syndrome, where you have an abuser and then you start to get attached to the abuser in some way. You start to believe that you owe them something, for example. So abusive things, we attach to them. But my mother gave me those pieces of shoelace. And it's a memory. Why would your memory of a shoelace she gave you be greater than the one you should have in your head and heart? I mean, it's just silly. Even if you want to remember somebody that's passed away, I'm not going to let go of, that was my child that died. Who's Michael think he is, telling me to let go of that child, or my partner? That was my life mate, they died. I'm not letting go. Then don't. But in case you want to know, they're no longer a dead person. And you want to sit around going, oh, my husband or my wife died. My child died. Now go ahead, keep them as a dead person. That's not what they want to be, in case you want to know what they're interested in. What it is it's unfortunately, it's a sad thing for me to think, I don't know how to keep something in my heart. I need to keep it as an image, my proverbial and perpetual image of you as a dead person. But I remembered being by your deathbed and you were in so much pain. Doesn't that sound twisted at all? Because they're on the other side like, You know, and you're like, no, no, no. Last breath, I want to see that you taking your painful last breath. And they're, no, look, here I am. And that's why Jesus says to one of the apostles in one of the lost books of the Bible, why are you looking at the guy on the cross? His spirit appeared to one of the apostles. And he goes, don't look at that. That's the dead guy. I mean, he didn't use those words. I'm paraphrasing. But I have his permission. You know, he's going, why are you looking at the dead guy? And he called it the imposter. Why are you looking at the imposter? Meaning the false self. Here I am. And it's almost like the apostles and surrounding people that loved him. It's almost like, no, no, no. Oh, we want to just keep looking at the body on the cross. It is tempting. I mean, that's how twisted humans are. And then they made a religion out of the corpse on the cross. And again, every time you see it, you got to remember, it's nothing wrong with a crucifix. When you look at it and say, instead of, oh, my Savior, my Christ, he was killed, and you look at it, he was bleeding. Go ahead and look at a crucifix, but remember, it's so cool to look at that because it reminds me the imposter self. It reminds me that when Jesus died, he could have stayed dead and we would all still be up creek. It's a symbol of what he did there was saying, this is what the world does to you. When I look at a crucifix, I can say, yep, the dark night of the soul, man. I remember going through that a couple of times because that's all it is. The crucifix is a symbol. It's a beautiful symbol that this world has no good intentions for you, meaning the ego-based world. You're not going to correct politics through an election. You're not going to correct economy through one maneuver. Because as soon as you go one direction, there's a billion people trying to make it go another way. You come up with a really healthy solution, everybody wants to figure out how they can cash in on it. Nothing's allowed to just be free on this planet. And I'm not shaming a particular political persuasion or males or females. This is what ego does. And I don't even have to go outside my door. I can sit in my own house and have an inspirational thought and watch how the ego will try to beat the hell out of it. You don't even have to go out and find anybody to do it. So if my own mind conflicts and doesn't allow me to feel peace and harmony on a consistent basis, how am I going to expect the world to get that? Especially people that aren't into centering into God. They're not going to fix the world for us. I have to fix my own inner world, and I'll start seeing a different outer world. Be the change you would like to see in the world. So when we start to get it and go, okay, there's things that aren't working for me that I'm going to let go of. And I'm never one about preaching like prematurely throwing things out. People or whatever. Because the lessons still go with you. You know, if you fire everybody from your life who doesn't do exactly what you want, look exactly the way you want them to look, it'll never end. There was a great Twilight Zone once where they played a Fidel Castro character. And Peter Falk, I think, played the character. You know, it was an old show, Twilight Zone. And he was playing the Fidel Castro, and he just won. He just took over. He became the dictator of a country. They don't tell you literally it's Castro, but it's clearly that's what they're playing up. So here he is, and he's just become the dictator. And then he starts seeing, like in mirrors and so forth, people sneaking up on him with guns, and he kills them. And one after another, remember this? One after another. And they didn't really have guns, but in his mind they did. Because if I took over in, kind of less than legitimate ways, now I have to worry that everybody's out to get me. So his own mind was haunting him in the form of everybody else around him. You can't trust anybody else because of your own stuff inside. So we have to heal inside, and then we start to see something different outside. It's really true. I mean, and A Course in Miracles is really brutal about that. Because it's going to say what you're seeing outside is already a reflection of the inside anyway. So even if somebody does try to be the enemy, it's saying you've already judged yourself as imperfect, therefore deserving of an enemy. Our own self-judgments create the things we end up judging and being upset with in the life around us. We think if everybody else would just get it together, I would finally be happy. And the mystics and masters of all greatness have said to us, find the healing and forgiveness and happiness within first. Because one of you asked about forgiveness. Forgive myself. And learn to use everybody else as simply my symbol, my test. So even though people might behave hurtfully, we're not pretending they don't. Whether they behave hurtfully or lovingly, they're still reflecting how I'm doing inside. When you see something you like, it could be someone doing a talk that you like. It could be somebody letting you in traffic. It could be a clerk at the store that goes, oh, by the way, have a great day. Give thanks, because what you're seeing isn't just nice people. What you're seeing is a reflection of your progress. Man, I'm so grateful. God, I remember days that I used to attract this and that, and I'm so grateful I'm starting to see improvement in my life. And instead of saying, dear God in heaven, thank you for sending me a nice person today, as though God's going to go, I'm going to give you a bad one today or a good one today. God's like, I have nothing to do with you in that sense. I'm just awaiting you to remember who you ultimately are, which is me. In the meantime, when you have fabricated versions of who you are, I love seeing you grow. But I'm not making you grow. You're deciding it. You're the chooser. So, yes, you can give thanks to God, but also give thanks that you are making healthier choices. When you see racism, heal it in your heart. And you can say, but I'm not one of those. We're in this together. You may not be the overt, perpetrator, but I'm seeing it, so let me just take that within and breathe that in and say, wow, I don't feel like I'm that way. That's not the point. You don't have to pin it to an exact detail. Just accept it generally that we are all of one mind, and part of my mind is a racist. Not the part that I'm thinking or doing, I'm not acting like it. It's not in my mind. But you're part of me, you're still reflecting. And even if I'm not, you're still giving me an opportunity to forgive something in my mind. And apparently outside too. So I'm not grateful that you are a racist, but I am grateful that I saw you acting like one. Because what I chose to do with it, which is give that to God. And you can use any wording you want, guys. You don't have to have specific mantra and affirmation and decree. You can just say, funny thing just happened, God. You could be at a stoplight. Funny thing just happened, God. I saw somebody acting kind of sexist or racist or whatever it is. And I'm confused. I'm even a little bothered by it because I'm not like that. But that Michael guy was saying that I'm supposed to do forgiveness around it. I don't really like this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So whatever I just saw that triggered me, and whatever it triggered, you don't have to know, I'm going to give this to God. What you're doing is on behalf of the person that was acting out, you're taking that into a soul and surrendering it to God. You can't actually do it the other way around. You can't say, God, I would like you to fix them over there. See that what they're doing? As though God wouldn't be able to see it. God, fix that. And God's like, okay, go ahead. No, I'm telling you, God, you go fix it. There's a racist right there. Catch him. Fix him right now. That'll be stopping right now because I got God on my side. God's like going, how would I change your world? This is your belief systems mirrored. I'm not going to take away any of your belief systems ever, because that would be stripping away something I gave you to do, which is called create. All I'm asking you to do is learn to create with a capital C from love, instead of from hurt, fear, pain, whatever else. So God says, yeah, since you're part of me and you want God to fix that, go ahead and do it. You're part of God. Be the representative. But it's not my issue. Did you just see it? Yes. Then it's yours. If you pick it up with any of your senses and you go, fine, then I'll just stay away from people. I won't smell, see, taste, this, that. As long as they're not in my senses, then I'm free. No, because you have a sixth sense that connects you psychically with everyone. And if you even get away with that, there's a seventh sense that you are everyone. So now you're just up creek. Because if you can pick it up with any of your senses, it's something for you to do. And again, spiritual people say, well, that's not my issue. What isn't my issue? As soon as I say it's not my issue, I'm separate from you, whose issue I think it is. And as soon as I'm separate from you, we're up creek again. And I know how messed up this sounds. I know how it's challenging because we wanted to think, everybody else is so messed up and not me. And I'm not saying you're messed up. I'm saying that we're connected. And if you want something to change outside, all I'm asking is connect with it in our own hearts. The Ho'oponopono prayer of Hawaii, to say, what I'm seeing, oops, the fact that I can see someone else or something else acting out or hurting something or someone, I can say, wow, in whatever part of me that participated in that, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. What I'd rather do instead is love, thank you. Along those lines. You can change the order of those short phrases in any way that works, but It's still the same concept. What I saw outside, I contributed to. Really? Is it that deep? Yeah, that's how weird and deep and cool forgiveness is. Someone comes in on crutches. They're in a cast, not you. No, they're in a cast because of us. Because all of life is created with two forces, me and us. I and us, you and us, and you. Each individual contributes to creation, and then we contribute. When a guy walks in a cast, I and we have co-created that. That person and we have co-created that. And I know that sounds really out there, but that's what Ho'oponopono is as a prayer. It means somehow we're so connected, somehow I contributed. I'm so sorry, man. You're the guy who took the broken leg for us today. You took the hit for us. So sorry, because we could have learned whatever lesson that person walked in with, we could have learned that in the easy way. Love. If I learn that we're all one, nobody has to do anything to reflect a lesson to me. Because we're all at peace. And when I lose that peace, something starts percolating up and I go, nope, I don't want to see that. That's what happens. It's called denial. We repress it, suppress it, deny it. And eventually, when the soul gets tired of pushing it down enough, it eventually, like the little dunk, 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 Jack in the Box, boom! It pops out and becomes, that poor guy with a broken leg. It's him. Somebody else walks in, God, I'm struggling financially. Oh, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so benevolent, I'll even pray for you. Thank you, God, that it's not me. That's what our prayers are saying. When you separate from him, it's just as bad as saying, thank God, it's not me. Dear Lord, please help that person, that poor person over there struggling. Oh, gosh. And then we use gratitude improperly and go, and I'm so grateful that my life doesn't look like that. And that's not the proper use of any of it. Instead, oh my gosh, somebody walked in and they're totally impoverished, and you realize that's me. All I see is part of me. That's me, a part of me. I don't mean that I'm covertly, that I have a broken leg, or that I covertly, or without me knowing, have financial issues. It is the sonship, it's called in A Course in Miracles. It is the Christ. It's us, the collective humanity. In other dimensions not known, and in other time frames, past, future, we're all connected. Time can't disconnect us. We're all connected throughout time. Even genetics, there's an intelligence through genetics. I mean, they've even proven plants communicate. And then they went so far as to test yogurt cultures. And they would find that the cell of a yogurt culture responds to love. It responds to kindness. It responds to non-violence around it. And when the yogurt cultures are blended from this petri dish to another, it's blended. They actually get excited. Hey, man! How you do? They don't go, I see we have some vanilla cultures. We're chocolate yogurt. We're coconut yogurt. They don't do this banana yogurt. They don't, because the cell behind it, beyond the taste, flavor, color, the cell is an intelligence, and that's what our souls ultimately are like. We chose to disconnect from our souls and become little minds, little ego minds, and forgot who we are. The real soul is right here. And if yogurt culture, souls, let's call them mini souls, if yogurt cultures can say, wow, this is so great, as soon as we get to connect with other ones, plants are going, wow, someone came in there, we can tell, we know that guy, he was here yesterday. They actually show this on sensitive test equipment. The plants go, wow, they were here feeding us yesterday. Then they have tests with other plants where people walk in and just shred and hack and rip apart the plants. And then the next day when that person walks in, it actually shows on these sensitive equipment like lie detector, they use those types of equipment. Those cells, those beings, those plants would actually start shuddering like fear. Now, is that what I want a plant to do when I walk in the room? Why would I want that? Your children, they shudder even when they don't know they're shuddering. Your animals, they shudder. And I'm not saying you have to always be what they want you to be, to never train a dog, discipline a child, or whatever. I'm not saying that at all. But they can tell when it's from love. and when it's not. Even if they don't like you doing it and it's coming from love, their soul is going to get it. That's what healthy boundaries are. A person may not like you setting healthy boundaries, but it's not their soul that doesn't like you, it's their ego. So it's okay. That, well, fine, you're going to be changing the rules here. I used to be able to get away with this. I know. That's when I was dysfunctional. But I've become a bit healthier, so certain things just don't work for me anymore. I remember after high school, it was a few years after high school, I'd run into somebody, and they said, Michael, we got together, the group, with a specific little group that we'd get together and have each weekend get together and have a party kind of thing. Well, we all got together, and you're the only one that wasn't there. I'm like, really? They go, yeah, and then people started talking. So where do you think he is? Well, I heard he found God. So he thinks he's better than us. And I'm listening to all the observations, yeah? Wow, Yeah, and then they were saying, yeah, all spiritual people are like that. And, they called them Christians at the time. They thought I was a Christian or, because I got into spirituality when I was in high school, and then it kind of just kept going. So they thought, oh, he's better. And they had all these stories made up. And I just listened and listened, and I thought, wow, ooh, really? Am I that? Wow, I did that? Oh, and I said that? Nobody even asked me. They just made the whole thing up, which still happens in my life and your life probably. But these games, and they make up all this stuff. And then one of them said, so what did happen? I said, I never heard about it. That was it. I would have still gone. And I would have still been me as they understand me. They would have still said, hey, if they were, I don't know what they were doing, if they had a drink or getting high, I don't know. But if they were and they offered, I would have done the same thing as I did in high school. I'm good. Because even in high school, I didn't get high with them. Well, once or twice, but I didn't inhale. No, even in high school, I didn't get drunk, and I didn't do all those kinds of things. But I wasn't trying to be like prissy or goody-good. They'd see me walking around with the same bottle of beer through the whole party. Nobody would know. They'd probably think he's probably on his sixth. It's the same one. It's warm. And it would just, so it'd blend in. But I'm still me. So we tend to make these sacrifices, and people don't like that, and they want you to fit within their stories. And they will make up stories if you don't fit. Because the brain gets very uncomfortable when somebody has shifted something. There's a popular book, I think it was more popular in Canada than the States, but Who Moved My Cheese? Some of you have heard of that, right? And it's that concept. Wait, you're disrupting my reality. I could be full-blown addict, change my way, and people are like, wait, we're partying. What do you mean you don't do that anymore? They're going to get, something inside's going to get disturbed. Then they make up stories. I remember going to a nightclub to listen to some music after I got divorced. It was kind of nothing to do, so I went and listened to these bands play music. And it was amazing because I go and I'm listening. I'm there partly for me, to just come out and have something to do, because it was a really dark time after divorce. So just something to do. But I go and I'm listening to music, which I like listening to. So I'm listening to bands and stuff. And I'm there, each weekend for a little bit of time. And eventually some people asked if they could sit at my table. I said, sure. And then it's hilarious because these people more than once came over to me, sat next to me or leaned into me and said, listen, the people here at the nightclub have been talking about you. And we just wanted you to know that we wanted to buy you a drink. Because you seem like a really nice guy, which is odd. They're like, you just stand out as a really nice guy. I said, oh, thank you. And they said, and we were going to buy you a drink, and then we realized you're in recovery. So they've had this conversation. All the drunks and partiers are talking about Michael, deciding that I'm in recovery. I've never even gotten drunk, let alone getting in recovery. What am I getting in recovery for? For sobriety? 12 steps from sobriety? What am I? And he said, I said, what makes you think that? Well, we notice, that you never have a drink, and when you do, it's just soda, Coke, Cola, I'm like, oh, so I just sit there going, wow. Even when you sit there and mind your own business, people make up stories. And that's this world, because they need something, usually something dark, to chew on. It's the way it is. Some of them so aggressively so, they don't just chew on it, they devour their image of you. They devour it. And I'm sorry that they do that. Because I know, we can make light of it, but I know it's a painful thing to have people ripping you up like that. Verbally, gossip, slander, it's a drag. But they would rather, don't think it's an accident. They would rather do that than ask you what you're about. Okay? They got to make something up. So, in our lives, what are you going to give thanks for? The slanderous story? Oh, thank you, God, that I'm apparently in recovery. And thank you. Doesn't make any sense at all because you're not. And if you say, thank you, God, that everybody in the world, hurt me and abused me. Not the real them. Don't say thanks for the hurts. Say thanks only if you chose to learn anything from it. I learned such and such, and I go forward. The Bible itself says there's no purpose for the word regret except one thing. Did you learn something? That's all. No beating yourself up. Regret is allowed. God does not encourage any form of regret but one. Did you learn anything? And that totally supports what I've been saying. In my life, this such and such happened, whatever it is. I could be standing here talking, the tree could fall over on me, and dang, the person who didn't put it up right, and dang Christmas trees, and now I'm going to become the Grinch from now on. I'm going to dress for Halloween as the Grinch. I'm never going to give gifts away, and I hate Christmas because the tree fell over on me. And yet I could say, if ever I'm in doubt, I could have checked to see if it was stable. If I didn't, just remind myself, I did think about it, So maybe next time I have a thought, maybe just follow through on it. And guess what? If I choose not to follow through on it, I chose not to follow through on it. Taking responsibility. And it just eases things. It just eases things. What can I learn from this? Relationships, it's a bummer. I would have loved for this to have happened in marriage. I would have loved for that to have been a little different for my kids. I would have loved this and that. It's not ignore it, stuff it, pretend it didn't happen. It's if something's upsetting you, ask yourself what you can learn. That's all. And I could say, but I can't fix. If some things happen to my kids that I wasn't aware of, and now it bothers me now that I've heard about it and know I'm aware of it, what can I do to fix that? I probably shouldn't have allowed the divorce to happen because I could have been there to protect them. Can't protect them forever. And if only, and if only, and if only, of course in Miracles tells us, if only is the most consistent popular axiom of the ego. Because if only means nothing ever is okay. Nothing's ever truly good. It could have been just a little more. If only I would have. God, there's no peace to that. If only always has me leaning out a little. But when I let go of if only, wow, okay. Wait, is there something wrong with me if I say I'm going to be at peace about my children and things that happen to them? It seems wrong and almost negligent for me as a parent to go, I'm at peace with it? See, that comes up in the mind too. Just ask yourself, are you meaning to hurt the kids by letting that go? No, then shut up. Or using a spiritual way of saying shut up, look at your ego and say, be still and know the I am presence of God. Meaning, that's enough. But I could have, okay, what could you do differently now? Well, I can't fix that. Then be quiet. That's enough. That's when the masculine side of you has to come out and say, enough. The other can say, honey, what's going on? Well, I just wish I could have. I would love to. Oh, come here. Let me hold you. And tell me what you wish you could have done different. Allow the feminine side to happen. Talk it. Write it. Journal it. Get out what you'd love to have seen differently. Get out what would bring you more peace if you could change it today. But when you're done with that, there's a point where you say, now get up. See, Jesus comes in and Lazarus' sisters, Martha and Mary, he walks into the town and they're crying. Okay, they're crying. They're upset. They're upset that their brother Lazarus passed away. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he's hugging them. He's comforting them. He's giving them the feminine. When he went to Lazarus, he didn't go, oh, Lazarus, how's it feel being dead and everything? You okay? With Lazarus, he says, Lazarus, get up! There's no, Lazarus, are you okay? Must have been terrible having a sickness that made you die. It was just get up. For those who were crying, he held them, and he held space for them. For those that needed to get up, he said, get up. For me, there's a time when I have to say, Michael, are you all right? And other times, that's enough. Okay? It's important. When I get up, I can still say, wow, I was really sad there for a minute. And I can say, why? What did you learn? What did you get from that? I can see that I probably prolonged a certain relationship, let's say in my life, your life. There was one relationship, or there's one today, that you allowed to go on for a few extra months or years, and what a bummer. Now, what can you learn from that? You don't say, I'm grateful for the dragging on of a relationship. What you say is, I get it. Now, when my inner center steers off too far and nothing I do will bring it back, that's probably it. From now on, I know where the line is drawn. So I'm going to see and watch. From now on, I'll watch my center. I would like a relationship that not is perfect in my center. It moves a little bit, perhaps. But when it moves, we talk and we heal it. Oh, that was kind of interesting. And then it shifts to the left a little. Okay, we talk, we navigate, we communicate, we heal. That's normal for a relationship. That's healthy, in fact. Perfectly center all the time would be great. But I actually become a better person each time I steer off and come back. As a human. My divine self is perfectly centered. Human's going to steer off, come back, steer off, come back. Perfect. Called personal boundaries against myself, not apply to others. This is boundaries with me. So back, Michael, back, come back. When it goes off too far, and I let it go off too far away from center, and I let it go too long away from center, and I do nothing about it, or if I tried everything I could, and it's still not coming back, then, I think we have to have a ceremony. Well, like a funeral. It's time for a ceremony. The shoelaces that are broken into 5 pieces, I tried tying it back a few times, and it's not working anymore. Time to let it go. It's just what happens. Apply this in any part of your life where you just go, okay, that's enough. Yeah, but. If yeah, but cannot turn into and we change something, then it's done. Let it go. We're coming to the end of a year. Now is a very auspicious time to be able to say, what have I learned from this year and my life? Because there may be new pieces of my life overall, this lifetime, that come back to me. Look back and see what in your life you can still learn from. Draw from it, whether it was a happy thing or a not so happy thing. Can I still learn anything from it? Sit and go inside and allow that to happen. And ask the Divine Mother, ask the Holy Spirit, help me see some of these things that I might be forgetting or neglecting or denying that I could learn from. And then here's the thing. The experience is 1. Integration, which comes partly from gratitude, is 2. And then I rise to a new level of consciousness. Everybody has experiences. But most people end up attached to the good, crucified by the bad. That's a typical human being. So you can listen to this, watch this, and just continue being a typical human being. Because that's typical. But you could use something else, which is to go to a higher level of consciousness. Watch. There's the experience, good or bad. Experience. I'm going to go one higher. I'm going to see what I learned from the experience. And whatever it is, I'm going to give thanks. Giving thanks anchors that I did learn. If I don't give thanks, it means I'm hedging. I'm going to give thanks. I did learn. Wow, I did. I got it. Thank you. There was a book I read, and it had information. That was interesting, but now I'm breathing in it. I took a meditation class, but I really didn't pay that much attention. Wait, it's coming back to me. What did the teacher say? Oh, yeah, that's right. That helps. Oh, wow, that really deepened my meditation. Thank you. Positives, negatives, anything you can. Draw it all in to give thanks, and that helps you integrate it to a new level. Humans have experiences and learn nothing. But gods and goddesses refuse to learn nothing. It's impossible. Gods and goddesses, they have experiences, then they integrate those experiences, and partly by giving thanks. Then they go one better. Now, that changes who I am, the inner God goddess, to a new level of consciousness. People want to go from being totally broken humans into divine beings, and it doesn't work. They can fake it, they can try it, they can simulate it in some forms. It just doesn't work. Get high enough and you feel divine. It doesn't work. Because when you sober up, you're still there. So here, what changes everything between human and divine, one trick, one tool, integrate what you've learned, partly by giving thanks. That makes the difference between humans and divinity. Learning to say thank you. Forgiveness, well, I forgive you, the human down here. Oh, I forgive you, it's over. I don't like you, but I forgive you. That's not real. I have to say, if I want to forgive you, what did I learn from this experience? And now that I learned, we're done. Thank you. Now that's forgiveness. And now that forgiveness allows me to go to a new level of my self-consciousness, divinity. That's how my human became divine again. Forgiveness, gratitude, forgiveness. The things you guys asked about today, those are the keys to getting home. And there are things you're going to say, I am seeing what I can learn from this and I would like to change it. You change what you can and then you accept what you can't. One of you asked about acceptance. You accept what you can't. That's the healthy and powerful aspect of acceptance. Acceptance is not, oh, I guess we'll just accept, it is what it is and it really is terrible, but that's it. No. Change what you can. The saying used, unfortunately, in STEP programs is accept what you can't change and then change what you can. That's backwards. You change what you can first and then you accept. You only accept what you can't change. But first you got to show up and change things. Responsibility and show up. So you do. You step up. Every breath should be an attempt to go to a higher level of consciousness. And if I'm doing something, a relationship or you have an illness and you do everything you can to heal it, fix it, repair it, whatever it is, a car for that matter, anything, when it cannot seem to get better, give thanks for what you've learned and accept that it's not going to change. If you have a health condition and you truly have spent every dime you'd like to or can on it and every bit of advice and everything you've done, healers and shamanic retrievals and Reiki things, and there's a point where, maybe accepting that you're also okay as you are. That might be the healing you needed to get in this lifetime. So you had an arthritic knee and you obsessed on it till you died. You're actually still coming back to work on knee issues. But if you said, it's a funny thing as you walk with this arthritic knee, it's a funny thing, man. I got this arthritic knee and Jimmy cracked corn and I don't care. I got this arthritic knee and I'm still like, woo! My arms still work. Give me a hug. It's like, it doesn't matter what part of you. There's people out there that don't have arms and legs and they learn to put a paintbrush in their mouth and paint. That's like an acceptance, but they changed everything they could and then they accepted and made the acceptance into something brilliant. It's incredible. And there's other people that it's the other one has no arms and limbs at all, and they're painting with their mouth. And somebody else is obsessing that their arms and limbs aren't skinny enough. Oh, I shouldn't even drink this water. It's going to go right to my hips, So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Okay, so fast. I fasted a whole 2 hours, and nothing changed. Well, listen, when you die, you'll become a skeleton. I'll be a fat skeleton, though. Never enough. And when you try to help yourself and other people, and they keep countering it with another negative, yeah, but I just know, then this is one of those where there's no acceptance. It's an obsession. So acceptance is a very powerful, not a failing acceptance. True acceptance is, oh my God, I got it. I'm going to accept this. Because my prayers are not going to be, God, fix this, fix this, fix. It's going to be, wait, I'm supposed to all this time have been asking for peace. How do I find peace? Even though I struggle with an addiction, I'm calling for peace, not just to fix the addiction. In 12-step programs, as you know, there's a connecting with God. You need to connect with God first, not fix everything and as a closing, connect with God. Connect with God because it'll help you to have that power within to do whatever you want to do to heal. So connect with God and feel peace. Jesus tells one of the apostles who's saying, can you fix this thing? I have this physical ailment. Well, you hear about all these healings of Jesus and all that. So it seems amazing. One of them, he just said, let my grace be enough. Meaning, connect with me. Let forgiveness, let my holy conscience be enough to heal you. But first, as feeling. Well, how can I feel what you feel, Jesus? I would love to have the same peace Jesus had. He's on a cross still saying, I love you and I love you. Forgive everyone and forgive them. They know not what they do. And hey, John, I know you're kind of bummed, but look at my mother, Mary. She's so upset. Why don't you now let her be your mom? And mom, let John be your son because you're going to miss me, but let him be your other son. So he's hooking people up. He's connecting. He's networking. He's like, oh, listen, that carpenter over there, he's out of work. Does anybody need some, chairs and tables done? I don't feel that amount of peace when I burn a piece of toast. Dang, the toast burned. Oh, dang. You know, now I got to make another one and triple the butter on it again, you know. Butter's much better on good fresh bread than it is on burnt charcoal bread. So humans have trouble finding peace, even in subtle things. And Christ is saying, seriously, people? I mean, I'm just up here giving you an example of how you could pull this off. And then all you do is spit upon me 2,000 years later. You're spitting upon me when you can't think that you have the power to do the same thing in your own lives. So come on, just anchor what I'm doing. Remember, anchor. Anchor. Integrate. Giving thanks anchors and integrates things into our consciousness. Let's take a few centering breaths. Just shake out the stuff of this world and stretch your neck a bit and make sure there's no kinks in the back and just relax. Now in this moment, setting aside all the stuff of the world, breathing and centering, everybody wants to run off to heaven or see purple lights in their meditations. All those things come from making room for God. Prayer and meditation helps us to make room. They're not the goal themselves. They really ultimately, and the same with healing, it's all about making room for God. And one way to make room for God is to release all the things that are unlike God. Hurts, pains, limitations, old beliefs. So in this moment, as representatives of God's presence, as representatives to all mankind throughout time, we have the right to step up and be a symbol, a voice for them. So we do so. And so, in this moment, we recognize and we look right now at any individuals that trigger us, are triggering us, circumstances, issues, anything that just, even the slightest annoyance, let it come to mind, and we ask the Mother, Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit, to help us discern, what do we need to see to release today? Allow someone or something to come to mind. It may very well be someone you'd rather not have been thinking about, but it's perfect. Because you're not going to be left with that. Whoever it is, whatever it is, look within and ask yourself, if you had to name a few negative emotions you would associate with that event or that person, what would they be? Betrayal, feeling held hostage, stuck. Even if it's just an event that's going on. Heaviness. I feel like I'm in a rut. Then let's own it. Those emotions. And look back through your life to any other time you've ever felt such an emotion. Is there any other time you felt stuck or betrayed or abused, held back? Look back in your life. Anybody else or any events other than today's feeling that way, causing you to feel that way? And what you're seeing then is called a pattern. So you don't just have today's event or person, you also have connections to other times and other people and other events. So there is a pattern. And guess what? The same people are not always there except you. The events are not always identical either, but the feelings are. And whose feelings are they? They're mine. So in this moment, Father, Mother, God, I recognize my current challenge. But instead of wishing it were gone, I'm going to sit with it and I accept that behind them there are some old patterns, some hurt feelings, some negative emotions. I get that. and the events and people along with them. I welcome them all into this moment with me, and I choose to give them all up to you, Father, Mother, God. I'm giving you the people. See, you're not asked to stick with it now that you remembered it. I'm giving it all to God, joyfully, because it's a burden off my heart, off my shoulders. I'm giving you the people, the events, the feelings, everything about it to you, God. I'm giving them to you because I honor you, I honor me, and I honor these people enough to say, help us to heal. Even if the person still feels like they were selfish or hurtful, if we don't surrender them to God, then they will continue being that way and continue doing it to others. I don't want or need them to continue behaving like that, so I'm showing the courage to give them to you, God. You help show me how to see them differently. And just feel a lightness. You don't have to control it, just let go. Think of a person in your life that has symbolized the most gross form of sexist or racist. Don't be ashamed of that. Let them come to mind. Could have been you. Whoever it is, let them come to mind. And again, I can recognize very easily that this bothers me. This level of hate and hurt, it disturbs me. I see it. I'm not denying that. And it doesn't just bring up specific issues, it also brings up ones I didn't even know I had. I might feel sad that somebody's a racist, but I also might feel rage about it. I might feel disgust in seeing sexism. Guys, let's be courageous. Let the images come to mind, the people or groups doing such things, the worst of them. If somebody doesn't connect with them and bring them to heaven, I don't mean their behavior. I'm talking about the light hidden behind it. We bring all of this to you, God. We don't know what to do with it. Of myself, I'm nothing. But with you, I'm everything. I have all the power and courage I need and strength I need. So I'm bringing the racism and the sexism to you, God. And what I'd really like to see instead is peace and oneness. Peace on earth, goodwill to mankind. Peace and oneness. It is possible here and now. Peace and oneness. Hear those words when you inhale, and the words "and so it is" on the exhale, and do it a few times. Think of nothing else. Call it in, but imagine that you feel it. Imagine feeling peace and oneness. You're healing sexism and racism. You're healing your own personal traumas and issues and asking for something instead, peace and oneness. And it's totally up to us to decide how much we choose to feel that. We can block it out if we want, but why? Peace and oneness over and over. See it and feel it throughout all humanity. And then feel a nice healing gratitude, as though this has all actually happened. I actually have brought healing to humanity to a new level and to myself to a new level. I feel it. I imagine feeling it and see it happening.